Aye, what is going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and there's always a little bit of trouble in paradise whenever a big budget title comes out and you don't have the recommended system requirements until a couple days before the release of the game. Gotham Knights had the minimum requirements out for a little bit, but we finally got the recommended requirements, and I gotta say, these recommended requirements are looking a little wild for a lot of reasons, which we'll talk about. I'll give you guys a run through on the minimum requirements as well. We talked about them in a recent video, but I thought it would be good to reiterate them because I have some updated thoughts on those as well. So, obviously, you guys probably know the story with Gotham Knights. Initially, the game was supposed to come out on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Those versions had been canned, and then ultimately, just a few days ago, we had heard that this game was going to be 30 frames per second on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, which was very surprising, given that this game did originally start as a cross-generational title. For it to be 30 frames per second, not offer any sort of performance modes, that was a little bit staggering, a little bit surprising, and the reasoning they gave, very big, detailed, open world. It's got, this cooperative play, the seamless cooperative play, and they wanted to keep it locked to 30 frames per second. The question remains, why can't you have like a solo component that's 60 frames per second, or just dock the visuals down a lot to offer a performance mode? Nonetheless, that's on consoles. Let's talk PC. Recommended settings have been revealed, and this is for 60 frames per second at 1080p. So if you're trying to play it at 1440p, you're gonna need to beef your machine, and ultimately we'll have to see, when people get their hands on the game, how the game is actually running. So we'll be mindful of that as well. But man, these requirements are nuts for 60 frames per second at 1080p. So let's go over it. CPU, Intel Core i7-10700K or a Ryzen 5 5600X. My oh my. RAM is 16 gigabytes, which, for a higher end game, that is becoming more and more commonplace. And then the GPU, an RTX 2070 or a Radeon RX 5700 XT. Bear in mind, this is 1080p 60 frames per second. Most people these days, they're playing at 4K, they're playing at 1440p. Actually, let me take that back. That's not really the truth, as in most people are playing at 1440 or 4K, because if you look at the stats, that's not really the case, but a lot of people are playing at 1440 or at 4K, or they're playing at 1080p or even 1440p with a higher refresh rate, so 60 frames per second ain't really what they're looking for, and a lot of people are still running GPUs well below the RTX 2070, well below the RX 5700 XT, so this is just shocking. And if you look at this game from a technical standpoint, it's a good-looking game. Let's not get it twisted and pretend like it's the best looking game that we've seen in the last 3-4 years. That is not the case at all. The open world does look incredibly detailed, but these system requirements are staggering, and I would highly recommend you to keep an eye on how the game turns out from a performance standpoint, because that is going to be very, very interesting to monitor, especially on release day, which is coming up this Friday, so be mindful of that. Let me know what you guys think about this, and also, to reiterate, the minimum settings is 60 frames per second at 1080p at the lowest settings, and that still recommends, for a minimum, i5 9600K, Ryzen 5 3600, 8GB of RAM, and then a GTX 1660 Ti or RX 590. A 1660 Ti, that's not a slouch of a GPU. A lot of people run something equivalent to the 1660 Ti because a 1660 was kind of the most accessible GPU that you could have gotten during the lockdown years where GPU prices soared up. A 1660 became really commonplace in a lot of budget-oriented builds, and you were still spending, don't get it twisted, like $700, $800, even $900 on a build with a 1660 Super. Here we have a 1660 Ti for lowest settings at 1080p 60 frames per second. This is just wild to me. I'm very much looking forward to the game releasing and how the reception is, and overall, I'm really interested from a narrative standpoint how the game will ultimately turn out. But yeah, these system requirements are just mind-blowing, and there had to have been something, I don't want to be conspiracy theorists here, but what happened in development where we have these wild system requirements parlayed with the last generation versions being canceled, parlayed with the fact that 30 FPS only on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X? That's just wild. I know that there was some talk about the Xbox Series S being the reason why the console version was limited, but I find that to be very that was kind of misleading, and like I really don't think that was the reason. I feel like something went awry in the development of this game, because if you're initially calling for a PlayStation 4 and Xbox Series or Xbox One release, you would think that the original intention had to be that you were going to offer the game at 60 frames per second, at least in a performance mode, on next generation consoles. And I can compare Gotham Knights' visuals to some of the other games that have come out this generation. It's not really fair for me to say, oh, compare Gotham Knights to Horizon Forbidden West, which is a cross-gen game, and Horizon Forbidden West, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, looks better than Gotham Knights. You know, that is something to consider, but Gotham Knights, again, that cooperative element to it, it's a complete co-op experience. The whole main campaign, straight co-op, 2-player co-op, so yeah, you can play the entirety of the game that way with a friend. Obviously, the game features Batgirl, Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood, Jason Todd, and you get to, you know, you can switch on the fly with all the characters. It looks like a really good game from a fan service standpoint, and I think people that are a fan of DC, a fan of Batman, are really gonna enjoy the game, but, that goes out the window if you can't run the game at, you know, suitable frame rates and suitable settings. And, yeah, I know that there was a lot of talk with the Plague Tale Requiem recently. That game is 30 frames per second on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. I thought with the release of next-generation consoles, 30 FPS was in the rearview mirror, baby. I did not think we were going back to it, but on the same week, we get 2 games that are locked at 30 FPS. Now, these games are both next-generation exclusive titles, so this might be something that's more commonplace than we think. I don't know if it's going to be an instance of a lot of developers preferring to go the higher resolution route with a lower frame rate, but that's why we got performance options, baby. That's why you're supposed to have a performance mode and a resolution mode. And then I saw the Callisto Protocol developer put out, hey, just to let you guys know, we're going to have a performance mode. So it seems like everybody's well aware of this fact. I've seen a lot of people be like, yo, that's a deal breaker for me. Like, I'm not buying the game. On consoles specifically, but these system requirements might be a deal breaker for a lot of people, given how high these requirements are. Like an i7 10700K, a lot of people with a budget and build are not going to have a CPU at that level. An RTX 2070, you know, if you bought a PC in the last 2 to 3 years and you were on a budget, you probably don't have a 2070. That's a higher end GPU, even though it's a couple generations older. You had to, you know, pay an arm and a leg to get a GPU at that level for a little while. So that's enough of my rambling. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below, because I think there's going to be a wild reception to it. And then people talking about, can this game run on the Steam Deck? Yeah, bro, if you want to play it at 3 frames per second, I think it'll run on the Steam Deck. Yeah, I don't think it's going to run that well on the Steam Deck, which is a bummer, because I would have killed to play this game on the Steam Deck. I would have loved it. I wouldn't have killed, but I would have loved to play it on the Steam Deck. But that's going to do it for me. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.